I was from a meeting in Takoradi, traveling to Plateau. I had to alight at one of the villages and to walk through the bush to Plateau. And with my flashlight focused on the log, at that time, I nearly fell. I was about to fall into the river, and I knew that the way that tributary of the Prayer River was with rocks. If I would fall in that river, only God knows what will happen. At that time, there was nothing I could do but just to shout, Jesus, because he was my last resort. The moment I shouted, Jesus, I just found myself at the other side of the river.
Hey! This is a victory song. Jesus is glorified. He has taken my pain and given me.
In the grand tapestry of human existence, there are those whose lives shine like radiant stars on the darkest of nights, illuminating the path of unwavering faith, unrelenting resilience, and selfless dedication. Today, we invite you to embark on an extraordinary journey with us as we delve into the remarkable odyssey of Reverend Dr. Emmanuel K. Amegbletor, a man whose life and ministry have masterfully woven a rich tapestry of miracles, challenges, and triumphs spanning 34 incredible years within the Evangelical Presbyterian Church, Ghana.
Emmanuel has done it again. I have come to testify. He has done it again. Emmanuel has done it again.
Born in the transformative crucible of the 1950s, Reverend Dr. Amegbletor's genesis was marked by a humble upbringing and an insatiable thirst for knowledge that would propel him toward greatness. Initially trained as a professional teacher, his soul's journey led him down unexpected paths until he stood at the threshold of a higher calling, anointed to shepherd souls in the vineyard of the Lord.
Hello, I'm Reverend Dr. Emmanuel Kwaku Amegbletor. I come from Jose in the Volta region. I was born on the 17th day of June 1953 to Zogli Amegbletor and Comfort Ashinyo. I schooled basically in Jose, but after that I went to train as a professional teacher at the Evangelical Presbyterian Training College, Amazope. After that, I taught for some time before leaving for Nigeria. I stayed in Nigeria for some time, and during the 1983, when there was that episode of famine, I came back and continued my teaching in Ghana. While doing that, I joined my district pastor and was helping him in doing his work. Because while in Nigeria, I got converted among the deeper life Christian ministry. And so when I came back, I joined myself to the district pastor and was helping him do his work. It was then that he asked me whether I was not interested in joining the ministry. I told him I really had the call, but I didn't know what to do. And he guided me. And by God's grace, I found myself training at the Trinity College, as it then was, now Trinity Theological Seminary, at the age of 33 years. By that time, I was already married with children, and at that moment, going to Trinity Theological Seminary, whatever profession you have to give up the profession, give up your salary, give up your everything, and join the ministry. So I had to give up my teaching career.
My dad has been a great inspiration to me and my siblings. Growing up, we've watched how he served the Lord, how he went about his ministry work. And it's no wonder that some of his children have taken after him in doing the work of the ministry. I remember when we were little kids, my dad would usually wake us up. By 4:30 a.m., he would come around everybody's bed and then wake you up, and they would meet in the living room for morning devotion. And it was something he did almost every day. And then as long as we were living with him in the mission house, we always had a morning devotion, and he would lead the meeting. He would teach the word from the Bible, and after that he ensured that everybody understood what he was saying. Even as kids, he broke it down to our level, and then we could get it. And then one thing he never joked with was our prayer lives. Usually our morning devotion, he would ensure that everybody prays. So he would wait for everyone to pray whatever the Lord lays on your heart. You will pray it. And it was a way of raising us to be able to communicate with the Lord. And we've grown up with this attitude of prayer and serving the Lord. We love the Lord. My siblings and I, we love the Lord. Nobody has gone wayward or drifted into any other religion. We have followed strictly after the faith of our Father, which is the faith of the Lord Jesus Christ.
In 1989, Reverend Dr. Amegbletor emerged as a shining torchbearer of divine grace, commissioned as a Reverend Minister, and thrust into the crucible of service. From the lush hills of Prato to the vibrant streets of Mamprobi, his ministry unfolded like a majestic symphony, each movement resonating with the harmonious chords of love, sacrifice, and unwavering faith.
Initially, I was to go to Tanyigbe, but for no reason, my station was changed to Prato. When I asked, where will I find Prato, they told me Prato was not on the Ghana map at that time. But by God's grace, I knew about Prato. And from our synod at that time, the moderator told me I will not be going home after the synod. I will have to join the general manager of EP schools, because he and his team will be visiting the Western region to see if there will be any way they could establish a substation in the Western region. So I joined. The general manager then called Mr. Apia, and we went. The moment we reached Daboase, that's the education office, and the assistant director heard about my issue, then he said, all glory be to God, because they had been looking for someone to send there to head both the primary and the JHS.
Those who have walked alongside Reverend Dr. Amegbletor bear witness to the transformative power of his presence, a presence steeped in compassion, wisdom, and the unyielding resolve to uplift the downtrodden.
I have known Reverend Dr. Emmanuel Amegbletor for almost 28 years now. I first met him when he was posted to Evangelical Presbyterian Church, Mamprobi, where I was a member. Seeing him afar before I encountered a personal relationship with him, there's one thing I admired about him, that his comprehensive knowledge in the Bible and his great religious conviction. Again, afar off, I was admiring him because he was on top of his preachings and the way he would conduct a whole worship service. There's one thing in which he performed excellently, that is providing care and counseling for his church members. And again, he will never give an excuse. He's always there. We have special events like funerals, weddings, baptism, and all that. He was on top of his performance so far as always. I was admiring this.
Did everything possible to encourage me. And he has actually contributed in making me who I am today, a presbyter, a counseling committee member in the church. And all I am today, I can say, first of all to God and the rest to him. I have encountered many pastors, but he operated open door policy. You can walk to his office and he'll give you a listening ear. He is someone very calm, but very, very caring. He will listen to you. Where you need to be advised, he will advise. Where you think that, oh, this one, Reverend should say it this way, he will just remark. God sees everything. I will say at this moment that Reverend Dr. Amegbletor, people may not tell you when they see you, but I know his absence is felt by so many people in the church.
I came into close contact with Reverend Dr. Emmanuel Kwaku Amegbletor in the year 2016-2017 when they were posted to the then Tema district of the Evangelical Presbyterian Church with its headquarters at Lawrence Wood. I was then the local president of the Presbyters Union, so I eventually received them on behalf of the church. Reverend Dr. Amegbletor is a theologian and a Bible scholar par excellence. His sermons were very deep and he was very passionate about the teaching of the Bible. In the 2014-2015 thereabouts, we were together, I was together with him at the Wisconsin International University College, where we both read law. One of the things that I admire about Dr. Amegbletor was his open door policy. He was very approachable and conducted meetings in a way that you will admire. In fact, he was the last to speak. He actually moderated meetings and never imposed his ideas on anyone. The wife was a strong pillar behind him, very approachable, and we loved them both. As they retired from the ministry, Reverend and Mama, what I want to say is that we wish you the best of luck, peace, Godspeed, and may the good Lord continue to bless you. Bye.
His counsel, like the soothing balm of Gilead, healed the wounded souls of countless congregants, guiding them through the labyrinth of life with unwavering grace and empathy.
As a youth leader, there were so many times that I went to him to assist me in pushing through our programs. One of the programs that we held, which was very successful, was a Start Right Summit. And I recall the keynote address that he gave, which was very interesting to hear part of his story when he began his ministry. And it's an address that we'll never forget. And also, Reverend Amegbletor is very compassionate and empathetic. He is not just a leader. There have been times that he called me and other people to find out how things are going in our life, in our relationships, whether we are working on moving on towards getting married and all that. Very few people will bother themselves about that, but Reverend Amegbletor was interested in that. He is one who always liked learning. He always liked learning, and he encouraged all of us to also do same. For that matter, whilst I was still there, still working in church, I had to pick up other courses myself to improve upon myself.
I fellowship with the Mamprubi EP Church. I've known Reverend Dr. Emmanuel Amegbletor since 1994, about 29 years now. He's been my pastor he was transferred from Prato to Mamprobi EP Church. That is where he became my pastor and has been my pastor to date. Dr. Reverend Amegbletor is a unifier, a motivator, a down-to-earth person who has an in-depth knowledge in the scriptures, which he imparts to his congregation. That is exactly what he was doing, or what he did whilst at Mamprobi. Dr. Reverend Amegbletor, when I say he is a motivator, will do well to go to all the groups. The church has groups who fellowship on different days. Reverend Dr. Amegbletor will make sure he visits almost every group, if not weekly, then fortnightly. Visits them to fellowship with them. He will encourage them where there is a need for him to reprimand them, he does. Dr. Reverend Amegbletor makes sure he makes friends with every member of the church. He brings us together in many ways. Reverend Amegbletor speaks to us how to be united. Reverend Amegbletor is a very down-to-earth person who will give each and everybody, even a child, a listening ear. When you go to him and want to present your issue, he will sit down quietly. He will never ever interrupt you. He will allow you to say whatever you have. And he in turn will also come in either to correct you, to encourage you, or to give you advice of any sort.
Yet, Reverend Dr. Amegbletor's journey was not one traversed upon smooth terrain. Nay, it was beset with trials and tribulations that will have shattered lesser souls.
It will surprise you to note that I was poisoned 3 times, 3 different times in this pastoral ministry. But by God's grace, I survived all. I survived all. This did not happen outside the church. Remember that. It happened in church. It's not those who are not Christians who poisoned me. It was my own church people who poisoned me.
So I had a call, by then I was in Kumasi, and then I had a call that my dad had been rushed to the hospital. And it was so serious that he couldn't even bend to, when they were taking him to the hospital, he couldn't even lace his own shoes. So I think I went home 2 days after hearing the news. By then he had returned from the hospital and was recovering. When I got home and saw my dad on the bed, I knew the man was almost gone. And I remember something he told me. He said, I should inform my siblings not to stop praying for him because the battle was not over. So when I saw him, he was so weak.
From the malevolent forces of spiritual attack to the nefarious schemes of those who sought to thwart his divine mission, he stood undaunted, a bulwark of faith against the tempestuous winds of adversity.
When it comes to the work of the ministry, the food aspect is very important. I've seen my dad poisoned 3 times and he actually nearly died. He nearly died, but God had mercy on him. And by the grace of God, he survived it and he's still alive.
The fact is, God sustained me. May all honor and glory be unto his name.
Reverend Dr. Emmanuel K. Amegbletor faced many challenges in his ministry. He and his family often encountered snakes at their remote ministry stations, which was a reminder of the spiritual battles they faced.
The very person who hosted us when we went to Plateau number 1, it was a whole battlefield on its own, but by the grace of God, we survived it. And My dad is a man of prayer. He's always praying and carrying out prophetic directions. He doesn't joke with his tokens. He doesn't joke with his prayer. When we are sleeping, he will pray. As in when we were sleeping as kids, he would be up and praying. Our very first station, that very night, a very big scorpion fell from the roof and then fell on one of us. I don't remember which of us that the scorpion fell on. And I'm not talking about the that are big scorpions. I'm talking about the village, typical village scorpion with hairs all over. It was a very terrible scorpion, but my dad was very alert and he killed that scorpion. And plateau number 1, those days, it's like you've been sent to live in a forest. It was bush, like forest. And my dad was sent to go and do ministry there. As for snakes, almost every day we're seeing snakes in the house. There were times that you would just be sleeping in a room and then snakes will come to the room. I remember one time my dad sent me to pick something from the room, and our last born, Monsieur Cho, she was a baby at that time and she was sleeping. By the time I got to the room, there was this colored snake that was on the wall, like vertical. It was just on the wall. And then when I saw it as a child, I ran and then I called my dad and he went to kill that snake. And then there was another time where that one he was outside. My little sister was, I think by then she would be about 3 years or so. She had just started walking. And then a snake had stretched its head toward her, and she was eating something, so she had stretched her hand and was giving food to that snake. And interestingly, the snake didn't bite her or attack her or anything. So it was an elderly person. I don't remember who exactly saw it, but I think it would be my dad, either my dad or my big brother. So they used a stick and then killed that snake. So snakes were a common phenomenon to see at plateau number 1. Everywhere snakes. I remember one time we were sleeping in a room. We were all sleeping, village, we were sleeping on the floor, and ants, an army of ants just came on us. They attacked us. They were all over, from our heads, our bodies. These are not city ants, these are village ants. They came as an army. And my dad, in the middle of the night, he woke up and he brought us out and then removed the ants from our bodies. But in all of these things, none of us was hurt. That's one of the mercies of God that I've seen my dad enjoying the work of the ministry.
But it wasn't just snakes. There was an attempt to kidnap his daughter by people who wanted to harm his ministry.
I left school. The Amegbletor over kidnapping. The Viala school, who clever motoi, who laboli devil. Ko agbadi diara ko dina le magbama wo we ba wo de software picture le of front you ko de bana ko ba maka aba ibe fa dai ma aba wo glo ne ba ibe fa da bo no ko va pa mi ala be ye an maka gbadi die we maga yo aba nya ko e ma pa ma da ka alaba de via globa yi mai do ya bie mo hafi na yozo ye de via yi de mo bia ba wonya ba yi na yo report geta yo hohozo ta o ma kidnap eta de vi ma ba suku de da pafu alaba no ka mo alaba okple so suku akoya pa mi na zo ina alaba mi akoi ai suku kakaka hafi watu
And during his travels, he had many close calls in accidents, but he was always protected. Through all these difficulties, Reverend Dr. Amegbletor remained strong in his faith and continued to do God's work even when things seemed impossible.
My wife mentioned that briefly in her testimony. But what actually happened was, see, when our enemies wanted to tamper with the education of our children, there were different things that they planned strategically to do. And one of them was to distort the result of our son. You see, when our son qualified to enter university, I contacted some professors who are members of our church. I showed them the result and asked them whether the boy will qualify to be admitted for his course. They said yes, the boy actually qualified. So I gave them a copy of that result, and that same result was what my boy used in entering the university. But just one day, something happened when the university authorities said our son entered the university with a false result. I said, how can that be? I reported straight away to one of the professors, and he said, but they looked at the result. When we found out from the university, we saw that what actually happened was someone cunningly prepared a false result with A's, A's, which our son never got. We never saw that result anywhere. But someone went and collaborated with the officials of the university to change our son's result. And so when finally the authorities saw that, no, this result was false, they decided to dismiss the boy and even hand over him to the police. Our son nearly got mad those days. It was terrible. We had to counsel this boy for a long time, to pray for him for a long time before he survived it.
My name is Amegbletor, son of Reverend Dr. Amegbletor. Daddy had been in the ministry for so many years. It has been an amazing journey. It has really been a mixed experience. It has been full of ups and downs in terms of both joy and sorrow in so many ways. Sorrow in the sense of a lot of challenges coming our way. You know, it's often said that children of pastors or reverend ministers go wayward. And I have grown to learn that it's really because when the enemy strikes or the devil strikes trying to attack your parents or the reverend and the wife, they're not able to get them. They, turn their direction towards you, the child or the children. And exactly what we felt in this case. So we've had so many attacks, Personally, going through my education from the basic level through to the highest level, it hasn't been that easy. We've had so many spiritual challenges, spiritual attacks and all that.
His ministry, characterized by supernatural deliverances and angelic interventions, bore witness to the transformative power of divine intervention.
I was from a meeting in Takoradi, traveling to Prato. I had to alight at one of the villages and to walk through the bush to Prato. On the way, I had to cross one of the tributaries of the Prairie River. There was a big log across the river which I had to walk on. Remember, it was night. I had my bag on my head and my flashlight in hand. Then I started walking on the log. Unfortunately for me, that day too, it rained and the log was slippery. Walking on this log that night, by the time I came to the middle of it, one of my feet slipped and I had to balance myself, conscious of my bag also, and with my flashlight focused on the log. At that time, I nearly fell. I was about to fall into the river, and I knew that the way that tributary of the Prayer River was with rocks. If I would fall in that river, only God knows what will happen. At that time, there was nothing I could do but just to shout, Jesus, because He was my last resort. The moment I shouted, Jesus, I just found myself at the other side of the river. I started shivering. I didn't know what happened. It was quite an experience. I really saw that the Lord helped me. When I shouted His name, that time I remembered what He said, call upon me in time of trouble, and I will help you and reveal great things unto you. The Lord actually saved me when I called upon His name. He just lifted me and took me to the other side of the river. I stayed there for about 5 minutes, just reflecting on what had happened. Then I continued my journey to my village.
Way back on campus, I was in the university doing my undergraduate study. Because of my passion for music, Daddy is a musician actually, so we all inherited that from him. And fortunately for me, I was elected to be the music director for one of my unions on campus. And the day of taking up the mantle as the music director, something very significant happened. Significant and mysterious. So when I was called to come on stage for the handing over, I felt a very sharp hit on my chest. I could have gone back to take my seats, but then I put myself together to go. And after, delivering my acceptance speech, I went to take my seats and left the ceremony, went to my hostel. In the hostel, when I got to the hostel, my room, I quickly took off my shirt. I wore a white shirt on that day. And when I looked on my chest, it was full of blood. I could see stain of blood on my chest. So I was so scared, I was frightened. So I picked up my phone and called my daddy and then informed him that this is what I was experiencing. I had a very big knock, I felt a very sharp knock on my chest during church service. And then now I'm back in my room and took off my shirt. I could see stain of blood on my chest. I mean, at the left side, on top of my left, breast. So whilst I was narrating this to Daddy was just laughing at me. So I became very, emotional about it. And I was like, Daddy, this is something serious that I have that is happening to me, and you're laughing. So Daddy said that he was not laughing at me, but rather the situation, because apparently it was revealed to him that an arrow was going to be thrown at me. And so what I felt on that day was just what was supposed to have happened. But because it was revealed to him, he prayed against it. And so I shouldn't worry. So he just showed me what to do, and I did exactly that. and I was fine. There were so countless occasions that I have experienced a lot of spiritual attacks, back on campus.
My name is Presbyter Brian Kosi Wuto from the Evangelical Presbyterian Church, Mamprobi. I've known Reverend Dr. Emmanuel Kwaku Amegbletor for about 29 years. When our former director, Reverend Dr. Bwama, was leaving Mamprobi, he introduced to the church that during his absence, we are going to have a very good pastor in the name of Reverend Dr. Amegbletor. So when he resumed work, I think October 1994, he started his work. Reverend Doctor is a good man, very, very good pastor. The church was not in the best of shapes. Misunderstanding here and there, because we were worshiping in a very old building.
At my arrival in Mamprobi, the congregation was actually on the verge of collapse. But by God's grace, with prayers, with strategic planning, and with God on our side, the situation changed and Mamprobi did not collapse. Mamprobi rather started to grow tremendously to the envy of others, to the point that some people were even asking my presbyters to know what kind of power I was using, because they could see real change in Mamprobi, and everybody was rushing to join Mamprobi. What was the secret? And when my presbyters told me, I told them, anytime that someone asks you that, just tell them, Jesus is our secret. And lo and behold, Mamprobi has survived till date.
From the verdant shores of Ghana to the distant lands of Togo, Abidjan, and the United Kingdom, Reverend Dr. Amegbletor's footsteps left an indelible mark upon the annals of faith. His legacy etched in the hearts of all those who have been touched by his presence.
He superintended over the inauguration of the Lawrence Wolf Parish on 11th April 2021 to continue with an evangelistic zeal to win more souls for Christ in the Tema metropolis. 18 presbyters were consecrated under his time, where they went through programs of nomination, election, training, and internal as well as external practical attachments. Reverend Amegbletor's sermon liturgically styles during funerals, widowhood rites, naming ceremonies, marriage, and watch night services are unique and depicts his depth of knowledge and belief in Presbyterianism. He's a principled man, very strict to the core, and admonish everybody when they are found wanting without fear or favor. When he came to the church, he registered documents for the chapel. He also registered and had the chapel gazetted. During his stay at the Tema, from September 2015 to 2022, some of the projects which he executed or superintended under his care were the pavement of the church compound, mobilization and renovation of the chapel, renovation of pastors' manse, construction of conference hall, construction of male and female washrooms, and purchase of minibus for the church. Reverend Dr. Emmanuel Amegbletor doubled as a local manager of the Lawrence Wolf EP Church Basic Schools. He did a yeoman's job scrutinizing every little expenditure and ensure proper accounting procedures were done or followed.
Dr. Amegbletor's relationship with members of the congregation was superb. He feels for every person that he loved every member of the congregation, and he counsels, he pieces advice, and especially members who had problems with their marriages, take his time, get them together, and solve problems for them to restore marriages. He was loved by church members. Dr. Amegbletor in the pulpit preaching will draw your attention to God. He will let you understand who God is. His relationship with groups in the church was fantastic. And generally, he just mobilized everybody in the church. And by the time he left us, the church was together. Everything moved on well.
As Reverend Dr. Amegbletor embarks upon the shores of retirement, we gather to honor his 71st birthday, his 46th wedding anniversary, and 34 years of ministerial stewardship with hearts brimming with gratitude, reverence, and praise.
Mangu vaga de srowu na vangu amatan sofo dago alabe rapame ye dukofa ma haonye rado ya nyonwo otanwo wo ngbe yo die mu bana na kpojiku kaka nye mo kpojiku na va pama Tony, elabena le ha amodoma ha ma va me atangwa no doma fa kakana va pama yo nye Tony enwi ma ba ma glo na sohe yo yina de osofo du pafia ple osofo sro yo ko osofo de ga wodoji Uma gavão da osro na nya ba ola hadomo ola hamato domo ye amayo ina osofo luga ala bo wala doma da shisasie uma gafa kla gbadodo rawo an va vida kanya pato na nya ba ma fana kla time ifa time na duga yi ba yo dogo hamato into ba no na nyira fima hafi yi ya dana na chi magba mai fanya go mazaza sago ala bana yi kaba hafi ya sai fanya go mazaza yema srola gbo ta mayo sofo soge yo ina de o sofo duga osro nwuyo wonyale yo awodo kple hama owodo kple hama wadi ankode dola le gbegbebe gbato nya le bena de dokio to ganya me le bena de dokio anu be ya foi dokio de ganya me le dowo me atanwa no makaka magabe a ya puido kuida ma ba de ashida ma be azao na ma nyoko nko gbla avale na nya nyonya na tu nyonya ko pare osofo don ko dogbla ba ka tu nyonya poro osofo domo alaka ke na no do anu ma unya glom na gbanya so loku ofore nyonya ma ko dogbla.
Let us raise our voices in jubilant celebration, honoring a life lived in service to others, a testament to the enduring power of faith and a beacon of hope for generations yet unborn.
Majiba ma glone nyapoto bayiko awodo awe manya vio awodo mauna yire ogana lama sase so idoji to baba retire kakam ipa dota amuga yoga no we anai na we ale ko woni tako na we ayin gogba mauna domse nana lama sase au katai abia mau fo musani hey no idoji to mi adela plemia papa to Yesu Christo for come. Amen.
Join us as we lift our voices in thanksgiving and praise, honoring the incomparable legacy of Reverend Dr. Emmanuel K. Amegbletor, a man whose life has touched the heavens and whose ministry has transformed countless souls along the journey of faith.
He organized programs like crusades, which we had never done before, outside the church. Now, the parish as an edifice, he's helped transform it into a, should I say, a 5-star, a very beautiful parish we have there. The transformation has been massive under his watch. It has been an awesome one. He's touched on the lives of everybody in the church, and he's touched on many aspects of the church when it comes to evangelism, when it comes to the church appearance, architecture, everything. He's done a lot. He's touched on everything, and this is who I call Daddy. He's been a wonderful person. Daddy, you know how I love you, right? You are just awesome. I've said this and I'll say this again. You are amazing. You are spectacular. And not just me, but a number of people, a lot of people have testified to that. You have touched the lives of the youth. You have touched the lives of the elders. And I just want you to continue to be who you are, the wonderful person you are. Continue to touch the many lives you are touching, and continue to support us, because we are learning a lot from you as a leader. And continue to support us wherever you are. We are praying for you. God bless your family. God bless you so much, and continue to make you happy and give you reasons to smile all the time. Thank you.
Follow you, they go. Anywhere you lead me, I don't go. Jesus, my life is for your glory, your glory. Dumo, 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 dumo.